Whoa, thank you so much for 200 subs. Holy shit, you guys rock a lot, and as humbled and thankful as I am, it's time to celebrate with the only movie you can really use to celebrate 200 subs. It's a movie all about protection. The kind of film that stretches to cover the talents of its actors in a satisfying way. I would go on, but I could get a ribbing for that. This is Killer Condom. Before we get too deep into the plot of this movie, I want to point out that h.r.giger, yes, that h.r.giger was a creative consultant on a movie about killer condoms. More on that later. So this starts about how you'd expect, at a classy joint called Hotel Quickie. Now one thing about it, there aren't any allusions to what this place is. It's all about the in and out, in a relatively speedy manner. We meet Phyllis, who's forced into extra lessons by her not at all pervy professor to keep from failing his classes. Quick side note, at the Hotel Quickie, condoms are always complimentary. But you do have to pay extra for anything at the minibar, and don't get me started on the fancy soaps. Anyway, the scumbag professor pops on a rubber and promptly screams bloody murder, as Phyllis is splattered with blood. We pick up with the smoky introduction of Detective Luigi Macaroni, a rebel who plays by his own rules and doesn't follow smoking ordinances. His stereotypically angry captain explains how several prostitutes are being held for Lorena bobbiting their clients, and Phyllis is among them. Her parents magically show up from Oklahoma, and Macaroni delicately explains how she bit off her professor's penis in a sleazy pay-by-the-hour hotel before offering them a cigarette. Phyllis's mom doesn't take the news well and faints. Macaroni goes on to explain that that's just how New York City works. One minute you're investigating someone's dick getting bit off, the next you're off to check out a call about a pimp who stuck his mother-in-law in a dryer and tossed it out a window. He goes to investigate further and begins an internal monologue that could have been pulled from a 40s era film noir detective. As he moves to the seedy side of town, a slapping techno beat kicks up. And we're introduced to Bob.
It's Babette.
Babette. A one-night stand that she can't forget, but Macaroni can't remember. After grabbing the hotel owner's testimony, he grabs a prostitute named Billy and heads for the elevator. Billy questions if Macaroni is a cop, and he answers with a phrase that would be great on a t-shirt. He's got a dick like a cop, he screws like a cop, maybe he is a cop. They arrive at the infamous room where Phyllis's dirtbag professor lost his member, and Macaroni pulls out his piece, a 32cm or 12.59-inch beauty. Unfortunately, it attracts killer condoms like bees to honey, and Macaroni ends up losing his right ball in the process. Billy is blamed for it, subsequently being tracked down throughout the movie. We then meet with a montage of people getting busy, and then getting bit. All this leads to the fact that the Hotel Quickie appears to have an infestation. After recovering and learning how to walk slightly crookedly, Macaroni has vengeance in mind. He speaks passionately about the 13 pricks and 1 ball that the killer condom has on its conscience. Macaroni does a stakeout and tracks down the rogue condom, but he takes out the wrong one, and in the process another dick is lost. Angry Captain is still angry at Macaroni, but it doesn't matter because he's out for vengeance. Babette shows up at Macaroni's place and inadvertently brings the killer condom with, in this stylish crocodile leather handbag. With this in mind, you can't say that killer condoms don't travel in style. Anyway, we get a weirdly placed psycho-inspired shower scene, and then the killer condom makes its presence known. Macaroni ends up using his wits and a gas hose to lure in his prey. That little sucker blows up like a balloon and explodes. The coroner does an autopsy and finds that it's an artificially created being with
nasty big pointy teeth.
It seems to be a cross between a giant worm, a jellyfish, and a piranha. She then gets philosophical about whether a case involving a lady who kills her boyfriend by sitting on his face counts as sex or murder. The killer condoms come out to play. Strangely, their origin is the gutter. They lure people in with their docile tones, luring unknowing people into a false sense of security, and then they attack, taking off noses, fingers, and dicks. And so begins an epidemic of condom attacks, culminating in the taking of a presidential candidate's chief of staff, and it comes via Rubber Ducky, set to the Jaws theme. I think this indicates the condoms are getting smarter, and the headlines of the event are appropriately hilarious. At the same time, Billy and Macaroni meet in an elevator, and their encounter is so electrifying it kills the elevator, and leaves Macaroni with an erect tie. Surprised bystanders can't help but give them a round of applause. Back at headquarters, an in-depth discussion breaks out as to whether the killer condoms are banana-flavored or lubed. We then learn that a well-known scientist specializing in both rubber and genetics has been kidnapped. After a failed undercover mission at a nightclub, Macaroni and his partner individually stumble upon an evil secret underground lair beneath a hospital. The kidnapped scientist is being held there, and he's busy whipping up killer condoms, as well as explaining their in-depth creation process to anybody in earshot. All this under the watchful eye of Dr. Riffleson, who's a religious nutbag preparing the way for the Lord's arrival. He's apparently due on the 11:30 flight from Rome to New York on December 31st, 1999. She's got a straight-up Dr. Evil level death trap complete with a pool of killer condoms, and all the people Macaroni holds dear suspended above it. For Macaroni, she's got a special death planned via an extra-large killer condom, custom-grown to handle what the good Lord gave him. Macaroni takes the high ground, surrounded by light, speaking inspired words that could change hearts. Riffleson offs herself in a condom pool, and Billy and Macaroni share a
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship
moment where Macaroni requests Billy call him cop over and over again. Credits roll and feature some slapping music, as well as a lovely parting message. So Killer Condoms is a 1996 German horror comedy based on the comic books by Ralph Koenig. I am genuinely not sure where to start with this one, so I'm just gonna say it was distributed stateside by Troma Entertainment, which promoted the film at the Cannes Film Fest with a 6-foot condom. On that subject, alien designer h.r.giger worked on the film as a creative consultant. Allegedly, Giger came up with the look for the title character and also conceived of the film's more bizarre set pieces, which I think is incredibly awesome. Despite the name and premise, this is a genuinely funny film. There are moments that I laughed out loud, including a great Jaws callback featuring a condom riding a rubber ducky, the standing ovation given to Macaroni and Billy when they emerged from a passionate fucking session that broke the elevator, and the solid list of nicknames given to the killer condoms throughout the movie, including carnivorous condoms, crazed contraceptives, man-eating rubbers, and knob-eaters. Killer Condom also hits on a deeper level. In my opinion, the premise of a killer that starts by hitting the gay community, as well as prostitutes, and then moves to the general public in the 90s isn't hard to see as a reference to the AIDS epidemic. More clear-cut is the ending, which doesn't piss around. It offers some rather biting and, frankly, accurate social commentary towards extreme religious views on homosexuality. It goes really dark in an already dark comedy, but I think that's warranted given the subject matter. The head doctor is an incredibly evil person hell-bent on taking out those that she deems to go against the will of God. But in turn, she helps create a thing that causes a worse form of evil. And Macaroni's version of the Sermon on the Mount is a cool turning of tables that unfortunately she can't bear to take. In that same vein, this movie reminds me a ton of 2007's low-budget indie, Teeth. It follows the same basic premise, with a little bit more emphasis on religion. If the movie revolved around Phyllis, chances are good it would have turned out something like this. Either way, it deals with teeth in incredibly uncomfortable places. Now, Killer Condom struck me in ways I didn't expect. Based on title alone, I didn't expect the depth that I got with this one. Yes, it is an incredibly goofy movie about condoms with
nasty big pointy teeth
that bite off dicks, but there's actually quite a lot more to it. It's in German with English subtitles, but it is incredibly worth a watch. Special thanks to Ashley from the Movie Oracle for the recommendation. She's got some fire content that's well worth a look. You'll find her link in the description below. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies? Trivial questions? Comments, ratings, and a weirdly in-depth scientific explanation of how living condoms can be a thing would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.